So you're watching a video about moving from California to Las Vegas, Nevada. You've finally had enough. You've had it up to here. No. You've had it up to here, and now you realize it's time for you to get out of California and finally make the move. Well, who better to talk to about this than someone who actually did it? Yeah, that's right. So that's what I'm going to talk about all through this video as I talk about what it's like when you move from California to Las Vegas, Nevada. Hey everybody, it's your host here, Dave Baker with VegasAgents.com. Now, if you are ready to learn everything about what it is like to live, work, eat, sleep, and play in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, then you have got to tap that little subscribe button and of course click that little bell so you'll be notified every time I put out a new video. Now, if you're finally ready to do it and you're really thinking that you want to move out to Las Vegas, Nevada, then you have got to reach out to me. It's so easy. All you have to do is send me a text message. You can send me an email. You can give me a call on the phone 24/7. Or you can even schedule a call in the link below and we'll get you on the calendar so we can talk to you all about moving to Las Vegas. Most people that I talk to who have been to Vegas many times often just tell me they've either been to the Strip, of course, famous Las Vegas Boulevard, where else are you gonna stay? Or they've been to downtown Las Vegas, like in Fremont Street. Once again, another tourist attraction. So I understand that you've been there a bunch of times and you think you know it really well, because I kind of thought the same thing, even though I used to drive around all the time before I moved to Vegas. And I would check out the neighborhoods, but I didn't know what it was really like when I lived there. I mean, I mostly ate at tourist locations. Once in a while I'd eat off the Strip, I would eat somewhere else, I would try to find a local restaurant. But like many people, I would enjoy the buffets and spend most of my time in the vacation area. So in this video, I want to talk to you about 7 things that I first noticed when I moved out to Las Vegas. All right, are you ready to dive in with me as I go through these things? Let's get started. Okay, the first thing that I noticed when I moved to Las Vegas is gambling is essentially everywhere. What do I mean by that? Sure, like I said, you've been on the Strip, so you've been around casinos. That makes sense. But the reality is there are a lot of gaming operations and slot machines and video poker and things like that all throughout the city. So what am I talking about? Well, let's see. When I go to the supermarket, what's the first thing I see when I walk in the door? A little gaming area. They have slot machines, they have video poker, they have people playing at the supermarket, and they even have an attendant to help you, which is really nice of them. But it's more than just a supermarket, okay? You see it at the gas station. You see it at the laundromat. You see it at all kinds of places where I don't think you're suspecting that you might see it. If you go to a local convenience store, they might have a gaming section. Now, that's when you go out shopping. But where else do you see this stuff? Well, you're going to probably see it at some restaurants and bars. And I don't just mean bars that are gaming focused, right? When you drive by certain places, you'll notice it says 24-hour video poker, or it might say something like food, fun, and gaming, or something like bar, dining. Then you might see gaming written somewhere. And you see that at a lot of places. And you know what? You actually see it at some nicer restaurants too. There's a nicer Italian restaurant that I went to with some friends, and in the bar area, they did have a gaming section. It actually wasn't that noticeable, which I thought was interesting, but it had to do with how they set it up because it was a nicer place. Now, is there anything wrong with that? No. It's just something that you're going to notice, and it's going to be probably part of your life. You'll get used to seeing it, and then it won't really seem special anymore. When people visit Las Vegas off the Strip for the first time, they often seem like surprised, like, oh, hey, look, they have slot machines here at the supermarket. So I'm thinking to myself, that's okay. I'm going to the market to go shopping, not to play. But I will tell you what's really interesting is some of the stuff that you get, like the free perks. Perhaps you've heard that, or you know already, that when you play at a big hotel, they give you things like free drinks, right? That's pretty common. But what I found interesting was that, for example, at one gas station I was at, there was a sign that said, if you play, you get free coffee, free hot chocolate, and all the free soda you want from the machine that makes like 100 flavors of soda. It's like, look, another perk, even on a different local level. But if gaming or seeing it as something that concerns you, well, it's something you should be aware of. It's not really something that's hidden. Does that mean that everybody plays all the time? No, it doesn't. But there are regulars at quite a few places. I know this because I often talk to people who work in places, right? And I'll say, hey, has anybody won lately? And they'll say, well, some of the regulars are doing pretty well. It might seem funny to you that there are regulars who go play at places like gas stations and other spots. A local bar, I understand that because they might frequent that place anyway. But I'm going to put that as the first thing that I noticed when I really started spending time in the city, in Vegas and Henderson, and then in the Summerlin area. It's something I see quite a bit. Okay, let's jump into the next item on the list that I first noticed when I moved to Las Vegas. And that is that traffic is different. Okay, here's what I mean. Wherever you live in California, whether you live in Southern California, like you live in LA or San Diego or Orange County, or if you live in Central California, like you live in Bakersfield, or you live close to Fresno, or you live in northern parts of California, like the Bay Area, you're probably familiar with traffic. Traffic is just an everyday part of your life if you go anywhere. But it's different in Las Vegas because when I was in California, traffic seems like something that pretty much happens most of the waking hours, with the exception of like a small 3 to 4 hour window. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about. Do you ever hear people say something like, oh, you want to drive from Southern California and you want to go up to like Magic Mountain, or you want to take a vacation in Santa Barbara? Well, you better leave by 1 o'clock. I mean, you've only got a small window, right? You've got to leave between 10 and 2. Or maybe, you're up on the East Bay and you've got to cross over one of the bridges and people say, oh, you better go between 11 and 2 because that's like your only chance to go without any traffic. Do you know what I'm talking about? If you do, you might be from California. But here in Las Vegas, I mostly see traffic during rush hour. And rush hour used to mean, let's say, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. or 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. when people are commuting to work, right? And it would also mean like 5 to 6 p.m. That is the time of day I generally see traffic. If I want to go somewhere, let's say I want to go have a meeting and eat lunch, I don't have to worry that it's going to take me 2 hours to drive 20 miles. It's not like that. Traffic patterns seem more normal. But I want to tell you, there is traffic in Las Vegas during rush hour. It's not a secret. I mean, more people are moving there. But I'm going to give credit to the city. I'm going to give credit to the Summerlin area, city of Las Vegas, and to the city of Henderson for having wider roads. It's like they planned for this. Interesting idea, right? Now, hey, if you're looking at living out in Boulder City, you're probably going to have less traffic inside of Boulder City because you're further out. And if you want to go way out to the border at Mesquite, Nevada, well, traffic in Mesquite, it's not really going to be a big deal. I was actually just in Mesquite not that long ago, and I thought, well, this is a relaxed, easy place to live. There's not a lot of traffic, but it's a smaller town, so you can expect that. But since we're talking about traffic and rush hour and when people work, etc., let's dive in, once again, to the next item on the list. And that is, a lot of people work in the service industry. What is the service industry? Let's just make sure we're talking about the same thing here, right? We're talking about hospitality in general. We're talking about hotels, right? We're talking about restaurants. We're talking about entertainment venues. We're talking about places like arenas. We're talking about all those cafes and gaming establishments and places like that we talked about before. What's really interesting is that people who work in the big casinos or on the strip and things like that, they have different shifts. So there is shift work, meaning that they might work, 7 to 11 or 11 to 7, or unique shifts that you're not used to hearing about. Maybe they work from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. So it's interesting that you see a little bit of additional traffic or a couple extra people on the road during those shift changes. But it's a big difference, I think. It's something I really noticed. Coming originally from Southern California, I feel like a lot of people I met, not including those who literally worked in stores, who worked in restaurants, and some friends that I had, a majority of people seem to be doing a lot of different things. In fact, I can think of, most people I know seem to work in a few different industries back in California, right? They work in finance somehow. There's a lot of different ways people can be involved in that. Obviously, they work in tech, right? A lot of people in California work in technology. When you move to Las Vegas, you're not going to see the same technology scene, nor the same maybe financial industry. Not everyone you meet is a financial planner. Not everyone you meet is an app developer. Not everyone is working on some kind of solopreneur or entrepreneur type of project. It's different. A lot of people work in the service industry, but I have to tell you, quite a few of them have told me that they can make some really good money. So I understand why they do that. And it's just so big out in Las Vegas, right? You have tourism as a major industry in Nevada. Interestingly, tourism is not the #1 industry in Nevada, according to many statistics that I read. And also, did you know gaming is not the #1 industry? According to quite a few studies that I've read, I've actually seen that mining is the #1 industry in Nevada in terms of perhaps taxes or revenue or things like that. It's very interesting because I think a lot of us would have just assumed it was gaming, right? It makes sense. Now, I'm going to clarify this. When I say gaming, because this has come up in conversation, people say, what do you mean gaming? Well, we often call it gaming, especially when you live in Vegas. But gaming essentially means places where you go to gamble, right? Gambling establishments. So for those of you who've been wondering what I meant when I said gaming, that is exactly what I'm saying. Okay. All right, let's continue. The next item on my list of things that I first noticed when I moved from California to Las Vegas is the weather. Okay, we can't spend a lot of time on this. Guess what? Las Vegas is in the desert, okay? What happens in the winter in the desert? Well, it gets really cold. Is it freezing? Does it snow? It could, but does it really snow in Las Vegas? It has, but that's not really a big issue. But what is cool, of course, is that you do have snow at Mount Charleston. So if you're looking for a little snow in the desert, it is available. Oh, you thought I was going to talk about the heat. Do we really need to talk about that? It's a desert, okay? Guess what happens in the summer? It gets to go over 100 degrees. You might never have seen that in your car before. But of course, that does depend on where in California you're moving from. If you're from Central California, hot summers are no surprise to you. You'll be used to that. So here's the deal. In some of my videos, you've seen me say things like there are 2 or 3 good seasons. But I've come to resolve that there are basically 3 good seasons in Las Vegas. Guess what? Summer is not my favorite season. It's very hot in the summer. Your electric bill is probably going to be higher because you have to use your air conditioning. Remember what I just said. You probably have to use your air conditioning. You can't not cool your place down because you could cause damage to the interior of your home or your condo or townhouse if it gets too hot. So there's going to be a minimum setting you'll have to put it at. And yeah, you're going to run your air conditioner. It's going to affect your electric bill. That's just how it is. Here's the deal. I've stopped dwelling on the weather because the more time I spend there, the more I realize, hey, that's the weather. So, in summer, there's a water park. There's a lot of great things. There's so many great places you can go that have great air conditioning, and you can enjoy life there. Now, I know for some of you, you actually don't mind this. People have told me, I don't mind if I go riding on my bicycle when it's 95 degrees out or 105. Me, I love hiking, but you won't find me spending a lot of time in Red Rock Canyon in the summer. Even in the shade, it gets warm. And at nighttime, does it cool down? Kind of, but not a ton. So it could still be over 90 degrees in the evening. But that's just part of the deal. But there's so many benefits. And if you're watching my other videos, you know that I've done a pros and cons comparison about dealing with these things. The benefits versus other stuff you have to deal with, right? And I think we all know that the pros column got more check marks. I really want to hear about your thoughts on the weather, by the way, if that's like a really big factor to you. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you feel about like the weather where you live, how important it is. Is it something you're always thinking about? You know, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about that. Okay. Next item on the list that I noticed when I first moved to Las Vegas was guns. Yes, guns. You've probably seen them on television. If you live in California, there's a good chance that you don't really see people carrying them other than, you know, law enforcement and people who carry them as part of their profession, like security guards and patrols that drive around and things like that. I remember the first time I was in Nevada, I went to this event, which was like an outdoor barbecue. It was at like a motorcycle event, you know. It was a motorcycle show. There was some stuff going on, music, and I went to get some food. And there was a person cooking the food, or barbecuing, and I noticed that she had a gun on her hip. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Is she like security or something? No, she's not. The next time that something got my attention was I was picking up food, and yes, hold on, let's just pause. You notice a lot of my stories involve me going to get food. Why is that? Because we've got so much awesome food in Las Vegas. So if you're following my videos, you probably hear that quite a bit. So I was going to get food. I was walking in the store, and I go get in line to wait to pick up my food, and there's a guy wearing a gun on his hip. And once again, I was like, whoa, is he like security here? No. So I was quickly reminded that in Nevada, open carry of a firearm is legal. So that's something that you might not be used to seeing, especially if you spent all your time in Nevada on the Strip, right? But I would say the further you go off the Las Vegas Strip and away from tourist areas, or listen, even if you're up north, if you're in Reno and you're in downtown, they're gonna have different rules, right? The further you go away from those spots, the more likely you are to see people carrying a gun. And remember, it's legal in Nevada to open carry a weapon. So it's not even that difficult necessarily to get a permit to have a concealed weapon. So if that's something that interests you, that's an option that is available in Nevada. It's much easier than California based on things that I've read. I don't know the rules of every county in California or every city, but based on things I've read and things people tell me, it seems like it's just a lot easier. The other thing is you are going to see gun stores, you're going to see shooting ranges, you're going to see people talking about that as an activity. I hear people tell me that, yeah, sometimes they like to go on the weekend, and they like to go to the range, and they like to practice and do things like that. So don't be surprised if you see that, and if it's, well, it may or may not be something that interests you, and I just want you to be aware that you will see it when you're out there. Alrighty, let's continue down the list of things that I noticed. The next item on the list is that in Las Vegas, nothing feels really inconvenient. Okay. So if you watch my videos, you often hear me talk about convenience. I use words like walkability or bikeability. I talk about how long it takes to go from one place to another. We talked about the traffic. Well, I like living in a place where things aren't super inconvenient. Let me give you some examples. Earlier I mentioned that I like going hiking, right? I think of all the times I wanted to go hiking when I had to drive maybe, say, 30 or 40 miles to a place I wanted to go. So when I lived in California, and if I wanted to go outdoors and do something outdoorsy, so to speak, not only would I have to drive through traffic, I would also struggle to find parking and then have to pay for the parking. Now, I'm not saying there's free parking all over Nevada, but there's definitely a lot more than I saw when I was in California. Additionally, it just feels easier to do things. What I'm saying is not just that there's no traffic, but the overall feeling is less pressured. If I want to do something on a weekend, let's say I want to go to a farmer's market, or I want to go to like a trade show, or maybe there's an outdoor music festival or a convention or something like that, it doesn't feel so stressful. Let me tell you one of the last stories of a time when I said, I just can't take this anymore. This is just too much. Here's what I was doing, okay? There was a concert I wanted to go to. It was on a midweek. I think it was on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. And the concert started probably like 7 o'clock. The band was going to come on at 7 or 7:30 p.m. Maybe it was 8 p.m. And I was going with my friend, and he said, oh, well, we better leave by like 2 o'clock. I said, 2 o'clock? What are we going to do all day? It's 50 miles away. We're going to drive 50 miles, and then I'm just going to have to sit around. What am I going to do for hours and hours and hours? And I have work, and, here comes the stress. Here comes the complaining. So what do you think happened? Did we leave at 2 o'clock? No, we didn't leave at 2 o'clock. We left at 3 o'clock. Yeah. So what do you think happened? Well, guess what? We got there at almost 7 p.m. Yeah. We left at 3 o'clock and arrived at almost 7 o'clock. And then, guess what we had to do? Just what I was talking about. We had to find parking, which was like impossible. By the time we finally found a parking space, I think it cost like $25 or $30 or more dollars. So by the time I actually made it, the band was going on stage. I couldn't believe it. We're talking about 50 miles, and I had to endure that. And I thought, this is just too much. I can't, it's just not fun, It was too much stress. It's not as enjoyable. And that's some of what I'm talking about. And you might know what I'm talking about if you like to go out and do certain things. And, well, I'd like to hear about your experiences. So leave me a comment below. I want to hear about your experiences, like what you feel. Do you feel that stress when you live in California, that it's like hard to do things? There's this interesting term someone I know uses. They say, and they tell me this because somehow magically I seem to find a few good parking spaces. They said, you have good parking karma. But parking karma, is that even something I have to worry about? I can't even believe that's something we're talking about. I don't really talk about that so much in Las Vegas. Even on a Saturday night, let's say I want to go to a new place to eat, a new restaurant, or a place I know is really popular. Hey, guess what? It's easy, it's convenient. And on top of that, there is this feeling that everything you need is inside of Las Vegas and Henderson. Okay, I know you Henderson residents you don't want to be lumped in with Las Vegas. Okay, so everything you need is within the city. Let's say I want to go to a big box store, right? I need to go shopping, or I want to pick up something. I don't want to wait for delivery. I want to get it right now. You know how that feels, right? I just drive over there. I drive over, I park. There aren't 5,000 cars there. Life is easier. If I want to eat food, well, it's super convenient in Nevada, or especially in Las Vegas, because things are open so late. Things are open constantly. You don't have that small town issue where things will close in the middle of the day. So I get an overall feeling of convenience. Let's say I want to go into an office, or I have a meeting to go to, or I want to work from a co-working space, which is something I'm a fan of, and we do have those in Vegas. Guess what? There are a lot of options. There are a lot of paths to get there. The roads are wide. There aren't a ton of cars all the time. Once again, it feels convenient. And I love that, because I think something we all want in life is to live in a place where it's easy to live. And what is the overall theme of that? Well, that is quality of life. And that is one of the best things I gained when I came to Las Vegas. Now, there's this other unique thing I want to talk about. It's something that I feel happens in Las Vegas more than many other places, and that is going to be the top item on my list. Are you ready? It is that being a local has a ton of perks. Okay, let me tell you a few stories. Well, first, let's remember something. Who comes to Las Vegas? Who are these 40 million plus people that come to Las Vegas every year? They're tourists, right? So everyone in the service industry is constantly surrounded by tourists. It makes sense. And by the way, thanks for coming to the city and bringing your business there. Everyone probably really appreciates it. But when you live there, when you pull out your Nevada ID or your driver's license or whatever it is, there's just something magic. It's like a little light shines down on you, and all of a sudden you feel special. But why? What am I talking about? Let me give you some fun examples. There was this one time I went to get some pho. That's, for those of you who don't know what pho is, it's a Vietnamese soup. Very popular, very tasty. And by the way, it's still good in the summer when it's 110 degrees outside, but it's perfect in the winter. I go to this restaurant, and I was going to use my card to pay, and they said, "Can I see your ID?" I said, "Sure." And I took it out. Whew, voila. They said, "Oh, why didn't you tell me you were a local? We have a local special." He clicks a button, boom, the price gets cut 50%. I was like, what? What is this? This is so exciting. It was so interesting. He said, you always have to tell people that you're a local. You know who told me that? Another local person, a person who lived in Las Vegas. And that was an eye-opener for me. So, what other cool things do you get? Well, first of all, we talked about gaming, right? Well, the casinos will often send you coupons and invitations and perk packages and things like that. Even if you don't play, you might still get mail. I cannot tell you how many 2-for-1 dinner coupons I got, or free buffets, or discount tickets to a show, and concert promotions. You know, I would have had to pay so much more if I wanted to see the same band back in California, right? Let's say I was going to the Hollywood Bowl, or I was going to the Coliseum. Well, when you get these cool concert promotions, you can actually get the tickets even at a discounted price. Now, what happens when you go to a local bar, for example? I remember one of the first times I went to a bar, I had to show my ID, thanks to my, young face, right? So I showed my ID. I was very excited. He said, "Oh, I didn't know you were a local." And voila, brought me an appetizer. And I was like, "What's going on? I didn't order that." He said, "Oh, no, you just get one because you're a local." So another cool example is that, like I said, so many people work in the hospitality industry. And that means there's a good chance that you might get cool perks when you start making friends, right? You might get things like the ability to jump to the front of the line at an event. You'd be surprised. You get things like that. You might get free parking at some places. That's right. There are some places where they say you can show your ID, show your local's ID, like your driver's license, and they will validate your parking. Once again, a really cool perk. If you're going to entertainment venues, or you like clubbing, if you like going to dance clubs, nightclubs, we can call them discotheques if you want. Once again, you might get to go to the front of the line. You might get a special discount. There's so many different things that happen. And this is just really the tip of the iceberg with what it feels like to be a local. And I have to tell you, it's been very enjoyable to, have that special feeling that you're part of this community. It's great to be a tourist as well, but it's also really cool to finally go somewhere where the locals actually get some special treatment. Okay, so those are 7 of the top things that I noticed when I moved from California to Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, there are so many things that are different about living in one place versus the other, and I'm going to talk about that in another upcoming video. But I wanted to share with you some of the things that I really noticed when I started spending all my time in Vegas, right? It was quite a change. And you know what? Everything that I feel has been really positive. Even the weather thing isn't terrible because you don't have a lot of humidity. So it makes it a little more comfortable in the summer for people who are looking to be in a drier climate. Even if it's hot, at least it's a little bit dry and you're not like dripping in sweat. So for example, if you're thinking of moving to Miami, well, it's very humid there. I think of that part of the country as a place that has a lot of humidity, and in my own experience, it was a definitely different feeling when I was there in the summertime. Okay, so if you're watching this video, you're already thinking about moving to Las Vegas, right? So what are you gonna do? You've got to reach out to me, okay? Send me an email, send me a text message, give me a call, okay? 24/7, seriously. I can't wait to talk to you. I wanna help you with your move to Las Vegas. The team loves living in Las Vegas. It's not just, a business, okay? It's a passion. I think that I've noticed that people who live in Las Vegas, they're proud to live here. They love being in Las Vegas. They love so many things about the city, and they want to share that with you to help you find the perfect place for you. Now, don't forget, you can schedule a call in the link below, of course, so you can get on the calendar at the perfect time for you, so that you can discuss what you're looking for, and we can get the ball rolling to help you find the perfect place. Even in this really unique time with a competitive market, we've got a lot of people moving. Let me just tell you something. You are not the only person thinking about leaving California and moving to Las Vegas. Believe me. In fact, a lot of people here are already from California. But when you come out, you'll see there's so many other people, and that comes up in conversation. Oh, you're from California? Of course, you hear things like that. All right. So, of course, the other thing to remember is to subscribe to this channel, right? I love it when you subscribe. I love it if you click that notification bell to hear about my new videos. And of course, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about Vegas, what you're looking for in a city where you're moving, and why you're moving. I love to hear that too, because a lot of people have different reasons. And it's so interesting when I see what people are really passionate about in their decision to make the move. All right, everybody, I will see you in the next video. Take care.